Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into how a utopian dream can literally transform into a totalitarian nightmare. We're decoding George Orwell's absolute classic, Animal Farm. Written against the backdrop of the 1917 Soviet-Russian Revolution, this brilliant allegory takes all the complex, messy mechanics of a political upheaval and, well, drops them right into a barnyard. Before we really get going, I want you to just keep this chilling question in the back of your mind. Are we living in Animal Farm? Because, this story isn't just history. It is a timeless playbook of political power, manipulation, and control that we absolutely still see operating in our world today. Let's look at how a society can be completely hijacked right under the noses of its own citizens.
All right, so let's trace exactly how a society collapses into dictatorship. Here are the chapters of our revolution. The spark of revolution, building the utopian dream, the struggle for power, fear and propaganda, the ultimate betrayal, and finally, a timeless warning.
Okay, Chapter 1, The Spark of Revolution, Igniting the Rebellion. So our story kicks off at Manor Farm in England. The owner, Mr. Jones, he's a neglectful drunkard. He and his men don't even bother to feed the animals on time, which creates this perfect breeding ground for an uprising among the overworked and starving livestock. The real catalyst for this change, though, is Old Major. He's an old farm pig who basically represents early communist ideals. Think Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin. Old Major gathers everyone together, addresses them as comrades, and paints this vivid picture of a future totally free from hunger or cruel whips. He tells them point blank that their suffering is entirely the fault of humanity.
He gives them this incredibly simple, unifying philosophy. Two-legged is your enemy, and four-legged is your friend. He even leaves them with a revolutionary anthem called Beasts of England, promising a golden future. Sadly, Old Major dies soon after. But then, bam! A sudden, totally unexpected revolution actually happens. Jones forgets to feed the animals for days, and they just snap. They break into the food bins, they fight back against the whips, and miraculously they actually drive the humans off the property entirely.
Moving on to Chapter 2, Building the Utopian Dream, The 7 Commandments.
Now, what's super interesting about this next phase is just how quickly the animals try to codify their newly won freedom. They rename the place Animal Farm, and they establish these brilliant foundational laws, the 7 Commandments. The rules are clear: no sleeping in beds, no wearing clothes, no alcohol, no killing other animals, and the absolute bedrock of it all animals are equal. The whole goal here is to make absolutely sure no animal ever adopts the corrupt vices of the human masters they just got rid of. And for a brief moment, it truly is a paradise.
But almost immediately, they hit a snag. Most of the animals, like the sheep and the chickens, they simply aren't educated enough to memorize all 7 rules. So the ruling pigs, who actually taught themselves to read and write, decide to simplify the entire Constitution into this one catchy chorus: 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. The sheep start bleating this constantly, and while it seems kind of helpful at first, this actually kicks off the dumbing down of their political discourse. It takes these nuanced, important laws and reduces them into a mindless slogan that can just be shouted to drown out any real debate.
Which brings us to Chapter 3, The Struggle for Power, Snowball versus Napoleon.
As Animal Farm finds its footing, a really fierce rivalry starts to boil over between the 2 smartest pigs who've kind of naturally taken charge of the whole political process. On one side, we've got Snowball. He represents the visionary, intellectual leader, very much like Leon Trotsky. He even bravely leads the animals to victory against a human counterattack in what they call the Battle of the Cowshed. But then on the other side is Napoleon, who represents the ruthless dictator Joseph Stalin. While Snowball is busy drawing up these grand blueprints for a windmill to provide electricity and ease the workload, Napoleon is quietly and secretly raising a private army of ferocious attack dogs up in the barn loft.
Just watch how quickly this escalates into a full-blown coup. First, Snowball formally proposes his windmill idea to guarantee a 3-day workweek. Obviously, the animals are thrilled, but right on the date of the vote, Phase 2 kicks in. Napoleon finally unleashes his hidden dogs, and they violently chase Snowball off the farm forever. Then, in just a masterstroke of political theft, Napoleon claims the windmill was actually his idea all along. He forces the animals to build it, but not for a 3-day workweek. No, it's for endless, grueling animal labor just to enrich the pigs. So this windmill, which was originally a symbol of technological liberation, is violently hijacked by Napoleon to cement his absolute authority.
Chapter 4, Fear and Propaganda, The Dictator's Playbook.
With Snowball out of the picture and public voting completely abolished, Napoleon unleashes the true mechanics of totalitarian control over the terrified farm, and it relies on, well, the universal dictator's playbook. Step 1. Create a scapegoat. Literally everything that goes wrong on the farm, a collapsed wall, some missing keys, is instantly blamed on the exiled Snowball. Step 2. Use the guard dogs to silence dissent. Napoleon literally forces innocent animals to publicly confess to colluding with Snowball, and then has his dogs slaughter them on the spot just to instill sheer terror. Step 3. Bring in a brilliant propaganda minister. In this case, a pig named Squealer, whose entire job is to manipulate the truth and gaslight the animals about their own memories.
What follows is this incredibly slow, deliberate erosion of reality. As the pigs move into the farmhouse, start sleeping in human beds, and even drinking whiskey, the other animals understandably get a bit confused. Like, didn't the rules explicitly forbid all this? But under the cover of darkness, Squealer secretly paints little loopholes onto the barn wall. The commandment, "No animal shall drink alcohol," quietly becomes, "No animal shall drink alcohol to excess." "No animal shall kill any other animal," magically becomes, "without cause." The rules are totally manipulated to serve the elite, while the working class animals are just told their memories are failing them.
And that leads into Chapter 5, The Ultimate Betrayal, The Fate of Boxer. As the farm's food production absolutely plummets and the animals are forced to work on empty stomachs to rebuild this windmill, the tragic failure of the entire revolution is perfectly captured by the fate of one incredibly loyal worker, Boxer the horse. Boxer is the strongest animal on the farm, hands down. His personal mottos are, "I will work harder," and "Comrade Napoleon is always right." But when Boxer literally works himself to the point of collapsing from a lung ailment, the pigs don't let him enjoy a nice retirement. Instead, they secretly sell him to a glue boiler and horse slaughterer. Despite the frantic warnings of Benjamin, the skeptical donkey who can actually read the side of the butcher's van, the animals are fed this massive lie by Squealer that Boxer died peacefully in a hospital. The horrifying truth? The pigs literally used the money from Boxer's slaughter to buy themselves another crate of whiskey.
Years pass, most of the original revolutionaries die out, and a totally new generation is born into this oppressive system, never knowing anything different. Then, suddenly the sheep are taught a terrifying new chant. The animals watch in absolute frozen horror as the pigs emerge from the farmhouse, walking upright on their hind legs, carrying whips in their trotters. And right on cue, the sheep start bleating their new slogan, "4 legs good, 2 legs better." So the breaking point is finally reached. The animals rush over to the barn wall to read those original 7 commandments, only to find they've been completely wiped away. In their place is just this single, chilling paradox. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. It's the ultimate justification for absolute inequality, completely wrapped up in the hollow, empty language of fairness.
Now for our final chapter, Chapter 6, A Timeless Warning. The Circle Completes.
This explainer reaches its really haunting conclusion during a card game between the ruling pigs and the neighboring human farmers, the ones they once swore to destroy. The human farmers actually raise a glass to Napoleon's success. They praise the pigs for extracting way more labor from the lower animals with way less food than any other farm in the entire county. To appease his new human friends, Napoleon announces that the farm's name is being changed back to Manor Farm. The revolutionary flag is altered, Old Major's skull is buried, and the ultimate reversal is complete. A society that was specifically founded to be free of human oppression has just become a society where pigs exploit their own kind, exactly like the humans did. The final reality is deeply, deeply disturbing. The pigs start dressing in Mr. Jones's old clothes. They're drinking alcohol, sleeping in beds, smoking pipes, the whole shebang. The remaining tired, starving animals look through the farmhouse window, just watching the pigs and humans argue over a game of cards. And to their absolute horror, as they look from pig to man and from man to pig, they realize something terrifying. They can no longer tell the difference between the two. The new bosses are exactly the same as the old bosses. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to chew on this final thought. Change the names of the characters. Is this the story of your time? Orwell's masterpiece isn't just a history lesson about the Soviet Union in 1917. It's a mirror held up to human nature itself. Look around your world today. Look at our political structures, our media landscapes, our workplaces. Ask yourself, who are the Napoleons, hoarding power and changing the rules in the middle of the night? Who are the Squealers, manipulating the truth and basically telling us not to trust our own eyes and memories? Who are the sheep, blindly repeating slogans just to shut down critical thought? And who are the Boxers, working themselves right to the bone for a system that'll discard them the very second they aren't useful anymore? Think about that, and ask yourself, who is really holding the cards right now?